Hey friends, and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Morgan and you are on my homestead here in Wyoming, and I am just wrapping up getting the kitchen reset and ready to go for another big preservation day. Yesterday we had a big preservation day with peppers. We made 3 different kinds of salsa, canned 2 of them, and then also made some pickled jalapenos. But I still have a ton of peppers that need to be processed. So because yesterday was a preservation day and today's a preservation day, one thing you really go through is towels and dishes. So I got the dishwasher all unloaded this morning. I'm just finishing up folding these towels and getting them put away, and then we will be ready to go. Today is an exciting day. We're gonna try a lot of new recipes that I have found, and I'm really looking forward to it. On the list of things to do today is to make applesauce with some of these apples, well, all of the apples. I just got these yesterday at the farmer's market, and that was our last farmer's market for the season. So it's bittersweet. It's one of those where I know they've worked really hard all season, and it's probably good for them to have a little bit of a break, but for my enjoyment, I'm a little bit sad about it. So I did go and I got just apples. These are Honeycrisp apples from Palisade, Colorado. So I'm really looking forward to making applesauce out of these. And then I have about twice as many peppers beyond what is shown here. So we're gonna get these roasted up. These are Anaheim peppers, and I'm gonna make a chili Relleno casserole along with green chili chicken soup. Our Anaheim peppers did phenomenal this year, and our poblanos did pretty good too, so we have poblanos to add in as well. And one thing I didn't realize is Anaheim peppers and hatch green chilies they're not the same thing, but they're very similar. So hatch green chilies were a thing, and then they were transplanted over into California, and they were called Anaheim peppers. Now, Anaheims are a lot more mild because of the soil condition, heat, all of that, compared to the hatch green chili. So technically they're different, but they're very, very similar. Anaheims are just going to be a lot more mild. Now, I don't know how spicy these are going to be because I'm in Wyoming, so I'm kind of east side of both of those, so I don't know how spicy these are going to be, so I want to give them a taste test and just see what we're going into. Our poblanos did not get spicy at all, so we can always use those to mild things down and still bulk up the chili content. But I'm going to get these roasted for our 2 recipes, and then if we have time, we're going to make some stuffed jalapeno poppers as well, just to get added into the freezer. So we've got a big day ahead of us. Let's go ahead and get started. And I think we're gonna start with our applesauce, just so that can kind of be cooking and reducing while we work on our other recipes. So the first thing we need to do is just get these apples washed. Because they're from the farmer's market, they are totally organic. We know where they were grown. I'm not super worried about them, but I do still want to wash them. We will peel them as well, so we don't have to be perfect at it, but I always think it's just good practice to wash your vegetables and fruit. So I'm gonna get these washed, and then we will get them peeled and sliced. All right, so I'm just putting together some cold water, and then I'm adding lemon juice, so as we get our apples peeled and cored, I can put them in here and they'll soak, and it will help reduce some of that browning. Obviously there will still be a little bit, but this will just help kind of fix that, and then we'll wash the apples off at the end, just to make sure they're not super lemony tasting, but we do add lemon juice to the applesauce anyway, so I'm not super worried about it. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and get our peeler all set up. And then here are the apples we're gonna process. I have enough for 1.5 batches, so 9 pounds of apples. Okay, we've got this all set up. So they do make electric one of these, but this one's old-fashioned and it works honestly perfect. So all we do is just place the apple in, and I have a towel down because this does tend to get a little messy, and then we just spin this and it will peel it and core it. For us. Then put those off to the side, and then there is our perfect apple. I'm gonna eat this piece, and then that piece as well, and there we go. All right, then I just have this knife. I'm just going to cut these in half so that they spread apart, just to get more surface area on the lemon juice. And that's it. That simple. We're gonna repeat this process until we're done with all of our apples. And then any apples that have just, I mean, these have very little bug damage, but any that do, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut them off. It's that simple. All right, friends, here is our apples and here's our peels and cores. I'm gonna put this in just a little bit of water and try to make a little bit of apple juice. I figure we have nothing to lose and it will go to the chickens anyways. So let's get this on the stove boiling and see if we can make apple juice, and then we'll get these going for the applesauce. So here all I was doing was putting in the peels, the cores, and about an inch of water in the bottom. Now, spoiler alert, you will not see this again other than it simmering on the stove because I completely forgot about it and all of a sudden smelled burning, and you guessed it, it was my apple peels. So I would chalk this one up as a failure. I think it would have turned out really well though. I just absolutely forgot about it, had it on too high, and got caught up in my actual projects that were on my mind. So all good, still went out to the chickens. They absolutely enjoyed what was left, but a little bit of a bummer because we didn't get any apple juice. Okay, we're gonna get our apples loaded in to our stainless steel. And we're gonna just let these cook down until they become soft, probably like 20 or so minutes. And the reason I'm not dumping is there's still a little bit of lemon juice water at the bottom that I don't want to get in the pot. Perfect. And I nearly forgot. To this, because I'm doing 1.5 batches, I'm going to add in 1 cup of sugar. There we go. I'm adding in 3/4 of a cup of water. And 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm just gonna give this a quick stir to combine everything. All right, now I have my jars in here that are just going to, I'm gonna bring to a boil, or not a boil, I'm just gonna heat up for 10 minutes and we're gonna get these sterilized. All right, so our apples are doing their thing back there. They are getting all roasty, toasty, and soft. So in the meantime, I'm gonna get going on our peppers because we need to give these enough time to not only broil, but also we need to make sure that they have time to sweat so that we can get the skins off. So let me grab the rest of our peppers. Okay, here we go. I just have some poblanos in here that turned red. So they're kind of pretty. I think that'll make the soup actually pretty. Some green poblanos and then the rest of our peppers. So let me get these all washed up. All right, and the directions said to specifically line it with foil. So I lined our sheet with foil. And I'm just going to put our peppers on. I do need to leave enough room for us to be able to flip them to make sure that we can char all of the sides, because that's kind of what we're doing right now. If you have a gas stove, you could just do this where you just kind of lay the peppers over the flame. Definitely be really careful if you do that. It's a little bit more risky in keeping your house safe, but I don't have an electric stove or a gas stove, so I don't have a flame. So I have to do this kind of a different way on the broiler but we're gonna achieve the same results. So I need to make sure there's enough room for them to twist, so it looks like I'm gonna need to do one more batch. We're gonna stick these in the oven on high broil for a couple of minutes, and we're just gonna keep turning them every now and again. We want these to be charred so that we can get the skins off of. So I'm gonna get these in the oven on high broil. And make sure you move your rack up high so that the peppers are only like 6 inches from the broiler. All right, these are looking awesome. I'm just gonna flip them so we can get the other side nice and charred. All right, I'm gonna call these peppers done, so we're gonna stick them back in the bowl. And we're gonna cover our bowl with saran. And we're basically going to now steam them, and that will help take the skins off. All right, I'm just going to immersion blend this up now. You can use a potato masher, but I like our applesauce to be really like smooth and creamy. I don't like big chunks. All right, and now is the time to check it for salt and make sure that's all good. I have not added any salt yet. So I'm just gonna take a spoonful. Let's give it a try. So good. Holy moly. Okay, that's phenomenal. I am gonna add a little bit of salt just to balance out the flavor. That doesn't affect canning at all, so I'm not worried about doing that. I'm probably gonna put in about 2 teaspoons maybe. We'll start with a teaspoon, see how that is, and then put in another if needed. But that is so good. This is gonna go really quickly. I don't think this is gonna last on the pantry shelf for very long. Alrighty, let's get this ladled in. I think I'm gonna want a funnel for this. That feels a little bit better, especially since this is so hot. So I'm just going to ladle our applesauce in. I'm so excited about this. I've never made applesauce before, so I think this will be a really nice treat to have on the pantry shelf. And honestly, it's just a great snack when you want something kind of light, but you're hungry. I'm really excited. We are gonna wanna leave a ½ inch of headspace on each jar, but I like to just kind of go through and roughly get them all filled. Then I'll go in with my debubbler, and then we'll go in for the precise headspace. Now let's go in with our debubbler. Just run that around the edges, make sure we don't have any big air bubbles. And be exact on our headspace. So again, we want a ½ inch. That was way too much. Luckily we can scoop some out and relocate it. Okay, now let's go ahead and run a little bit of vinegar along the edge of these jars. Make sure we get them nice and clean. And I do run my canner, my water bath canner, with a little bit of vinegar in the water. I have really hard water here, and so I find that that just helps keep away any of that like mineral buildup on the jars and just keeps everything nice and clear. So I would recommend putting a little bit of vinegar in the water bath canner water as well. Okay, That looks great. Now let's get our tops on. Then I just stuck that one in applesauce, so let's not use that one. Whoops. And I've actually been starting to use 4-jar lids. And I've been really actually liking them. They've been really great. I haven't had any false seals or I haven't had any jars not seal. They've been awesome. So if you're looking for lids, I would take a look in 4-jar. Okay, that looks great. Let's take these over and get them into the water. Okay, these are gonna process for 20 minutes. Adjust for your altitude. I'm going for 30 minutes. Okay, I think our bowl has cooled down significantly. It's been a little while, so I think we should be good to go. So I'm just gonna catch the skins on this baking sheet that's was already used, and we're just going to peel the skins off of the peppers. And I think it might actually be easier if I lay them down. And we just want to get that skin layer off. And I find that if you just kind of rub your finger along it, a lot of times it just kind of pops up. Okay, that looks pretty good. Next, we just want to open up the pepper. And I'm just going to use a spoon for this, and we're just going to grab out the seeds and take off our stem. Like that. I'm not super worried if there's a couple seeds left. I mean, it's a pepper. That's kind of to be anticipated, so that doesn't bother me. And so there's our peppers. This is tedious, so we're just going to repeat this process with all of our peppers. So I'm just going to listen to an audiobook or some music, maybe a podcast, I'm not sure yet, and get all of our peppers peeled. It's a little bit tedious, but it's honestly kind of a nice break. I feel like with all the canning, I've been running around like a crazy lady, so it's kind of nice to just do something a little bit relaxing. So partway through peeling the peppers, the applesauce wrapped up. So you can see here, I'm just taking them out to let them cool on the counter for 24 hours. Okay, friends, anyone that's been here for a while knows it's pretty rare that we buy chicken. But I happen to have this in the fridge because I was feeling like chicken. It does happen sometimes. And so, actually, I'm going to cut this up and get some of this fat off. For our green chili soup, like our green chili chicken soup, we need some chicken, obviously, for the soup. I'm just using chicken thighs. I got our chicken all trimmed, my hands are washed. I'm just gonna put some seasoned salt on top of all of the chicken. And this is some seasoned salt we made together. Oops, we'll spread that out. And I'm just using the same pan that I cooked the peppers on because I don't think there's any reason to dirty another dish. Since all we did was cook peppers on them, and this is going in a pepper soup. So that looks good. I'm gonna pop this in the oven until our chicken is nice and cooked. The recipe also does say to boil the chicken. I'm not a boiled chicken kind of girl. It's just not my thing, so I'm gonna bake it instead to get a little more flavor. All right, friends, I have just a little bit of time between everything, so I'm gonna get my chicken for our green chili chicken soup all cut up. And I did go ahead and roast some onions and also some garlic in this little packet along with the chicken. And since this is just going in a soup, this is just gonna be really rough cuts. If you wanted to, you can just boil this chicken. Like I mentioned before though, I'm just not a huge fan of boiled chicken. I feel like we can get so much more flavor by cooking it or like baking it or grilling it or whatever. So I prefer, whenever a recipe calls for boiled chicken, I prefer to bake it or roast it or whatever first. Totally up to you. And if you don't like spicy food, this recipe can definitely still be for you. So, like I mentioned, Anaheims aren't super hot. We'll see how hot mine are, because mine are like a mix between Anaheim and green chili. And I do think I actually do have some Big Jim green chilies mixed in with mine as well. So we'll see. I can feel my fingers burning. So I think I probably should have worn gloves, and I think mine's gonna be a little bit hot. But the nice part about this soup is, if you don't like hot, instead of using an Anaheim or a green chili, you could use a poblano and get that same kind of pepper taste without any of the heat. So I would definitely recommend trying that if you want the pepper flavor, but you don't like the heat. Sometimes I get that. Heat's not always, especially if it's too hot, you can't taste anything else. Okay, so I'm gonna get this chicken all chopped up. And then we'll get going on our soups. Well, our soup and our casserole. All right, friends, let's get our soup going. So we need, looks like I accidentally threw a skin in there, the equivalent of 4 Anaheim peppers. So mine are kind of in pieces, so I'm not really sure. We'll say that looks like 4. I don't know. Put that off to the side. Then I'm gonna grab my onions. And these are just the onions that I roasted up. Throw in our garlic cloves that we roasted. And then a little bit of chicken broth. We're gonna end up using 4 cups in total. If you have homemade chicken broth, that's even better, but I don't. Because I never have chicken to make broth. I never have chicken bones because we never buy chicken. And we don't raise our own, so we don't have any. Okay, I'm gonna put this in here and we're gonna blend till smooth. We might have to add in more chicken broth, we'll just see, but we want this to be very, very creamy and smooth. Okay, now let's take this over to the stove and get our soup assembled. Okay, we're gonna get our pot on the stove and get the heat turned on to medium. All right, so we have our green pepper sauce in. Now I'm gonna add in our chicken, along with the rest of our chicken broth. We're gonna use 4 cups in total. We'll give that a quick stir. And then we're also gonna throw in some corn. That's just some corn that my neighbors grew that I froze. Now we're gonna throw in some seasonings. So I'm gonna do about a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of our homegrown onion powder, a teaspoon of our homegrown garlic powder, did I say that? This one's garlic, the last one was onion. And if you like cumin, feel free to throw some of that in. I'm not a huge fan, so I'm gonna leave that out. Get that mixed in. All right, we're gonna bring this up to a boil, and then we will move on to the next step. All right, friends, let's get our chili relleno casserole moving. So you're gonna wanna spray it because we are going to be cooking with a decent amount of cheese. And this recipe actually calls for poblanos, but I'm gonna be using a mixture because that's what we have. So some bites might be spicy and some bites might not be. It'll be like roulette. You don't know what you're gonna get. Now here I just have some cheese that I already have shredded. So I have cheddar and then I have Monterey Jack, I think, yeah. So I'm just gonna give this a nice layer of cheese. I feel like that's the best part about rellenos is so many cheeses. So we're gonna do some Jack, some cheddar, make sure everything gets covered well. Now we're going to repeat. And then with the peppers that I don't use, what I'm gonna do is dice them up and put them in the freezer because so many recipes call for diced green chilies, or there are so many recipes where I'm like, ooh, this would be really good with diced green chilies in it. Chili is one of those things. Goulash is one of those things. I just really love that kick. We like spicier food, but we really like that kick. So I'm gonna dice these up and put them in the freezer. And then anytime a recipe calls for diced green chilies, it's like skipping a step, we're already there. Okay, now we need to get our wet ingredients pulled together. So we need 5 eggs. And because these are farm fresh, I just like to crack them in a separate one just to make sure they're good before I stick them with their friends. 3. Okay, here's our 5th egg. And anyone that has chickens knows this is an exciting recipe this time of year because it uses so many eggs. Just washed my hands really quick. I'm gonna give this a quick whisk before we add the other ingredients. Perfect. Next I need 1.5 cups of whole milk. I don't have whole milk, I just have 2%. So we're gonna do that. This is a 1/2 cup, so I need 3 of these. Grab milk. Okay. So we need 2. There's 3. And then I'm gonna give that a quick whisk. I should have used a bigger bowl. I knew that going into this, but here we are. Now I need 3 tablespoons of flour. I'm like the queen of doing that. I'm actually gonna take some of this out and put my flour in here. I do not want this clumping. So we're gonna do 3 tablespoons. I'm just gonna eyeball it. 1, 2, let's mix that around. Okay, pour that in. Then I need 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Looks good. I need 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. This is that garlic powder we made together. Half a teaspoon of onion powder. And then some salt and pepper. Okay, now we're going to whisk this all together, get any clumps out. Perfect, that looks great. We're gonna dump this over the top. Perfect, and then I'm just gonna push that down so it's all underneath the egg mixture. Okay, we're gonna put this in a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes or until this kind of puffs up. The egg will start puffing up. So let's get this in. All right, friends, this is looking and smelling absolutely incredible. So next I need to add in 4 tablespoons of butter. And if you're trying to make this healthy, I'm not sure how necessary the butter is. I'm gonna taste it and let you all know if the butter is required or not with the final product. But to me it seems kind of strange, but since it's my first time making this recipe and it has really great reviews, I wanna make sure I'm following it to a T. And then we're gonna add in a 1/2 cup of half and half. I don't have any, but I did have freeze-dried heavy cream that you just have to mix with water, so I'm gonna add that in instead. You just wanna make sure you're continuously stirring it when you add it in. And then the recipe does call to add cheese at this point. I'm gonna wait and do that. Sam's not home right now, so I'm gonna wait for us to put it on top when he gets home for dinner. But that's it. I'm gonna bring this back up to temperature, let it all combine, and then we're gonna give it a taste test. Okay, friends, I served up my perfect bite. I added cheese into it so we can get the full effect. And I'm just having a little snack right now because it's 3 o'clock. I don't want to ruin my dinner when Sam gets home. We'll enjoy this, but I wanted to give it a taste test. Cheers. It's phenomenal. Oh my gosh. The heavy cream cut down on the spice, and I think that might be what the butter was for too, to cut down on the spice. It's literally not spicy. It's very, like a kid could eat this. It's so, I think, little spice. It's very like deep in flavor. You get the chili, you get the roasty flavor, you get the onion, the garlic, the chicken, the corn. I love a change of texture, which is why I'm really enjoying the corn and the chicken. But I think what I would do next time is grind up or blend all of the chilies except for some of them, fine dice some of them, and then leave them diced and then grind some up so you have some for like the broth. I think that would add another element to kind of make it more like green chili. This is phenomenal. I think the butter also gives a rich flavor, but because I used heavy cream instead of half and half, I would leave the butter out next time. I don't think it's needed. This is phenomenal. If you have chilies that you don't know what to do with, I highly recommend making this, even if they're spicy. Mine were too. My fingers are literally still burning, but this has no spice to it. I'm gonna practice self-control. I'm not gonna have any more of this because I will ruin my dinner. What I'm gonna do now while the casserole is baking is I am going to get all of our chilies diced up, get the kitchen cleaned up. That way, once the casserole comes out, we are done and finished for the night. All right, well, let's get these chilies diced up. So that we can be done. And I want them pretty small because there's very rarely a time you need big chunks. It's more just like diced up. And I'm just gonna grab these little jam jars and put, I don't know, enough for a recipe in. I'm really excited about this. I've never thought to do this in the past. I need to find a few more of those jars, but now I'm just gonna write, this used to be tomato sauce, diced green chilies, we'll put those on, and then I'm gonna stick these in the freezer. How cute is that? But here is our chili relleno casserole, and I don't want to ruin my dinner again, but I do want to try it. So, cheers. I mean, it's green chilies, cheese, and eggs. Like, how could any of that be bad? That is really, really good. I think I'm onto something here. I think this would make a killer breakfast casserole. Throw a little hot Italian sausage or just like regular sausage, breakfast sausage in here. And this would be a killer breakfast bake. You could use gluten-free flour, so you can make it gluten-free. Clearly not dairy-free, but okay, I'm gonna keep that in my back pocket because that is phenomenal. I am so happy we have that. We don't have a ton of green chilies left. We do have some in the freezer, so I might have to stockpile them all so I can make that, but that is so, so good. And to me, it tastes like breakfast, to be honest with you. That is phenomenal. Okay, today I would say was a huge success. We got our applesauce made, we got our soup made, our chili relleno casserole, and we got diced green chilies in the freezer. So I am so happy with the progress that was made. I still have a couple poblano peppers and jalapeno peppers because I was gonna make stuffed peppers, like jalapeno poppers, but I think I'm just gonna make those fresh. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have the energy for it today, so I will probably make those fresh sometime this week, but I appreciate each and every one of you being here and hanging out with me. It seriously means the absolute world to me. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing if you haven't already, because we have a lot more preservation videos to come. We are just getting started. I want to make sure we are so prepped for this winter. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for tagging along, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, friend.